Hello everyone. In today's video, I'd like to talk about chip wars between US and China and how it has impact on global semiconductor supply chains. Let's start with China's big ambition in chips. One interesting fact that you might not have known is that even though China is hungry for energy and especially crude oil, importing from outside world, one item that China imports more than crude oil is actually integrated circuits, or in other words, semiconductor chips. So instead of importing all these semiconductor chips from foreign nations, China wants to reduce this dependency. And as part of this Made in China 2025 policy plan, which is to upgrade the manufacturing capability in China, China is right now aiming to domestically produce 40% of the semiconductors it uses by 2020 and 70% by 2025. So as shown on these news articles from Wall Street Journal and BBC, China has been investing heavily on semiconductor industry. More than hundreds of billions of dollars invested in to nurture its domestic players such as HiSilicon, which is a fabless chip design company, SMIC, which focuses on manufacturing logic chips such as CPU, YMTC, which focuses on memory chips such as DRAM and NAND. So why China has such a big ambition in semiconductor chip, and why is it investing so much money to nurture its own domestic players? That's because semiconductor chip technology is key in all the different fronts of innovation, including communications such as 5G networks, all the chips that goes into computers and tablets, and all the different kinds of consumer electronics. Cars will have more and more chips to enable self-driving vehicles, and also factories and robots to become more automatic and smarter. It needs better chips. And also for military and aerospace applications, such as drones, radar, satellite systems, semiconductor chip is the key. And lately, along with escalating tensions between US and China on trade wars, there have been some sanctions on Chinese companies such as ZTE, Huawei, and some other Chinese semiconductor firms due to concerns over national security and also concerns on intellectual property protection. So to have better understanding on how these sanctions have impact on Chinese companies, we need to understand how chips are made and what the semiconductor industry supply chain looks like. So if you see the diagram below, you can see that different phases of chip manufacturing, where it starts from designing, manufacturing, and packaging and assembly, and all the different players included on each different phases, and also suppliers shown below, which supplies all the chemicals and equipments. So let's go one by one on how US sanction could have impact on the supply chain. Let's say, for instance, Huawei or its close company HiSilicon wants to design new chips. In order to design a new chip, it needs help from chip design architecture firms such as ARM or chip design software firm such as Synopsys. ARM is currently owned by Japanese company SoftBank, and Synopsys is an American company. So this is a part where sanctions could be put on chip design. So let's say instead of designing its own chip, China wants to get the chips that are designed and manufactured from foreign countries. Let's say it wants to get logic CPU chips from Intel and TSMC, or it wants to get memory chips such as DRAM and NAND flash from Samsung or Micron. The thing to note is that Intel and Micron are American companies. Samsung is South Korean company, again very close to United States. And TSMC is Taiwanese company, close to United States as well. So this is also the part where US sanctions can have impact on manufactured chips. So let's assume the situation where China wants to build its own chip manufacturing facility instead of importing manufactured chips from other countries. Now, there's a challenge here as well, because in order to build manufacturing facility called fab, it needs very complex semiconductor processing equipment from other companies like ASML, Lam Research, Applied Materials, Tokyo Electron, which is in charge of all the different chemical processes of photolithography, deposition, etch, cleaning, etc. So even if these Chinese manufacturing companies like SMIC or YMTC want to build their own chips, they still need chip manufacturing equipment, which are again owned by countries, close allies to United States, and also United States itself. So in summary, as shown in these diagrams, there are multiple phases or multiple fronts in global supply chain where US sanctions could have impact on China's capability to get semiconductor chips. So how is China responding to this? Of course, China cannot magically come up with independent supply chains all of a sudden, but there are some news articles saying that China is still moving towards self-made chips or self-sufficient chips in the middle of all these. And they're also trying to utilize open source chip architecture such as RISC-V. So the expectation is that the decoupling between US and China in terms of technology and semiconductor industry may continue. So it'll be really interesting to see how this pans out and how this changes overall global semiconductor supply chain. So thank you for watching the video today, and I'll definitely come back with more interesting technology news and technology review. So thank you and have a great day.